Hello everybody, Frankie here. Happy Monday, whatever way this Monday is finding you. I have mentioned this to several people this week, or the past week, so I'm going to bring it here as well. And I feel sometimes crazy because I keep talking about this children's book and a ton of people have no idea what I'm talking about. But it's this. The children's book it's something like We're Going on a Bear Hunt, right? And it's a kid's book. We're going on a bear hunt. We're going to catch a big one. I'm not scared. And then all along the journey to go look for this bear, these people are encountering barriers in their way. So the first one's like, oh, tall, wavy grass. Can't go around it. Can't go over it. I guess we're going to have to go through it, right? Swish, swish, swish through the grass. And that's the theme of this book. And for me as an adult, to me, that is an incredibly important message. There are things you encounter in your life. You cannot go over them. You cannot go around them. You're going to have to go through them. And there's a degree of trust and hope involved because you don't necessarily know how long the going through is going to be. Is it going to be a minute? Is it going to be an hour? Is it going to be a year? Is it going to be 7 years? You don't always know. But you can't go over it and you can't go around it. The only way is through. And it's amazing what people will do to avoid going through. So that's number one. Number two is, how do we go through? We need to drop in. We have to drop in. Especially for those of us who are doing endurance sports, high intensity stuff, pursuit of goals, pushing ourselves to extremes, finding our limits and moving beyond them. You need to have time to drop in because often that's where you encounter the stuff. You cannot go over, you cannot go around, you have to go through. Sometimes high intensity doing is an avoidance strategy. Anything can be avoidance. Not doing can be avoidance too, right? And so it's important to notice if you are avoiding. It's important to build in stillness and quiet in addition to the doing. And it hasn't always been comfortable for me. When I started building in these practices, I would actually feel my system be more activated. And what is happening often in the nervous system is freeze is a state that is so beyond other levels of stress that it can kind of feel good. And so as your system starts to come down, you go through fight or flight, it can feel like you're actually getting more activated. So for example, being still, I could feel my heart rate pick up. I'd feel a little uncomfortable. I'd have all these racing thoughts, and I had to go through it. Now, a sitting practice may not be for everybody, but I do recommend trying it. And the word meditation may interest you or it might put you off. And that's okay. I personally don't like taking yoga classes, and that's okay. I've tried it. At this stage in my life, it doesn't really work for me. But if I put on music and I'm stretching or moving my body in a way that I want to move it, I do fine. I just don't do always well with an external person telling me to hold a pose for a long time. I know that for myself, and that's okay. So the beauty is that there are being practices, right? Let's say doing is like things like training. Being are things that are a little bit more still. And there are being practices that allow us to stabilize, to process, to allow our system to reset, refresh. It can allow the vagus nerve to be able to actually be more stimulated, and that can enable our body to be more calm. It can build a sense of safety. It can build a sense of perspective. It can actually help us cognitively in building a capacity. Sometimes when I'm sitting, I go and I'm doing my own breath meditation, mindfulness practice, I might remember some things I'd forgotten. So I sometimes do keep a to-do list beside me just so I could write that down at the end. But find what works for you. Maybe it's spending time in nature. Maybe it is lying on your back on the floor staring at the ceiling. Maybe it's journaling. Maybe it's yoga. Maybe it's meditation. There are so many things that you can do. And so I encourage you this week, if you don't have a practice, to try some things out and give yourself permission to try them a couple of times. For example, there's no one way to meditate. There's a million ways to meditate. I do think it's a great idea to not always be using audio to guide your meditation, because again, that can be an escape. Like, oh, I'm afraid of silence, or I'm afraid of just the natural sounds in my environment. So sometimes that is an escape. However, if you're in a place where you need a little more support, a little more scaffolding initially, listen to a meditation audio to help you, right? It's okay. It's okay to start somewhere. I did. It's okay to do things for shorter periods of time and then to start to lengthen that time, right? You don't have to go meditate for 3 days. You might want to sit for 5 minutes and start there, right? So give yourself permission, just like when you're starting to work out for the first time, or after a period of rest or break, that you would start easier and then start to build longer and longer sets or higher intensity. Same thing. If the idea of a being practice, the idea of a dropping in practice is new to you, or it's been a while, give yourself permission to just take a little nibble. And over time, it'll build capacity. Be patient with yourself. That is a lot from me, but this is something that's very important to me and I will keep speaking about. But remember, you can't go over it. You can't go around it. Sometimes you have to go through it. And sometimes the best way to go through it is to be still and intentional. Okay, you take care of yourselves, you take care of each other, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye.